the Sleon Productions podcast. As we talk to business entrepreneurs, tech leaders, founders, pioneers, doers. And today we have a chef today as our guest, Chef Max Santiago. He's originally from Miami, where he attended culinary school after serving in the United States Air Force. Through 23 years of culinary experience, he has led award-winning kitchens to include stints at the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills, the Ritz-Carlton in Coconut Grove, the Cove at Atlantis Bahamas, and the Confidante in Miami Beach, and has become one of the most renowned pastry chefs in the region. And as of recent, he's become very famous, for his donuts. Anyways, he'll tell us a little bit more about that. Chef, welcome to the podcast.
Leon, happy to be here, brother.
So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, recent activity, things like that?
Well, as you said, I've been in this industry for over 24 years. I'm probably the most experienced with the biggest pastry background of any owner of a donut shop. So that gives me a big advantage because, most of the donut shop owners are learning as they go, trying out different recipes and then they have to take some time to put it on their menu. I have tried and true recipes of every kind, fillings, glazes that have nothing to do with donuts that I could use in donuts. Donuts, by the way, is an amazing platform for creating a dessert. So anything that I could create on a plate, I just do it on a donut now. And I really don't see my donuts as I don't see my donuts as a donut. I consider them full desserts. And that's what, without getting too much off the topic right away, is really what the artisanal craft donut shops as a business has done for the world of donuts. It's created a middle ground where we bring donuts and fine desserts to a happy medium place. You understand? So that's the business strategy. That's why you sell so many of them, because people still view them as donuts, but they are in fact desserts that you're buying. That's why people get pissed off and say, hey, this is too expensive for a donut. But let's say I took that donut dough, I flattened it down and turned it into a crust. I put the same exact filling, jam, whatever, berries on top, little glaze, and I call it a patisserie fruit tart. You're not gonna think twice about paying $8 for it. But you bitch about paying $4 or $5 for it as a donut. So here's the difference. You're doing the exact same thing as a patisserie, but you're working on their mind play of like, hey, I usually buy a half a dozen, couple of dozen for the staff. So this is where it becomes profitable for the business. Understand?
Right.
You bring those two worlds together. I'm not just buying 1, 2, or 3 fine pastries like you would in a shop, a fancy shop. I'm buying dozens of these middle ground pricing, same amount, even bigger sometimes than you would pay for $8, $9, $10. You're actually getting a deal. So that's kind of like the whole. I've just like released one of the biggest secrets of what's going on in the industry of like when you're doing artisanal craft donut shops. But my background, like I said, I've been a pastry chef for a long time, and I had reached a point in my life where I wanted a balance. I've been literally married to my job for the past 20 years. I'm still single. I'm dating someone, but I'm not married. I don't have a family, so I literally was married to my job, and that was one of the reasons. It's very difficult to put up with that kind of a lifestyle and a relationship, and I chose my job and my career over any relationship for the past 20 years. And I've reached a point where I don't want that for myself so much anymore. I wanted to do more things. And also I was burnt out by the amount of work being spread very thin. Here I can put all of my experience, passion, my skills into just one product. Think about that. Someone that's normally doing what I was doing in a hotel. I was doing specialty cakes, wedding, birthdays, whatever, right? Multiple tiers. Sometimes go up to like several $1,000s on a cake. But on a daily basis, I had amenities. I had a room service menu. I had the fine dining restaurant. I had the pool and the beach. I mean, it was basically about 5 or 6 different outlets. You're constantly spread thin, so you're all over the place. It's really difficult. You don't meet many like hotel chefs that are very good at just one thing because they're spread so thin. And in fact, they're usually really good at doing like chocolate work and centerpieces because that's what they do more of in hotels. When you talk to a restaurant chef, they're really great at flavor combinations. Their plated desserts are amazing. Their flavors are more on point because they can focus on just that one thing. And that's what I'm doing with the donuts. I've actually been the pastry chef of restaurants and hotels combined. So I had that kind of more of a unique, like best of both worlds. I can do high volume. Wedding cakes and chocolate work are super strong. And that's why it was helpful to be on the Best Baker in America. And I did well on it because I've done both restaurants and hotels. Wow. And I did that show actually because I wanted to remind everyone that thinks that I'm just a donut chef that I'm also a pastry chef. And they got to see that. And not only am I just not just a donut chef, but I'm also gonna keep doing donuts with all this other like skills behind it. So that's what's unique about what I bring to the table. I can change, and I did that. That was one of our keys to success at the Salty was I put a new donut on the menu every single week, and I never have to duplicate it. I can literally make you 52 new donuts in a year and never duplicate it. That's how many recipes I have in my like portfolio. In fact, my laptop right now, I could probably write like 10 cookbooks because I have that many recipes that I've tried. And this is what I do. Like, as your chef, you go out and you test lots of recipes. That takes years to do. I've already done it. And while you're doing that, you either create one with a combination of what you've tried and tested, take the best of the things you've seen and know work, put them together into your own. That's what most chefs do. A lot of chefs don't create anything from scratch anymore because pretty much everything out there has been created unless you come up with something completely new. It's usually just a twist of something that, look at the Corona. That's just a croissant that they just did it in a different technique. But that's what we do. We find the best recipes. So what I've done is throughout my years, I've accumulated the best chocolate chip cookie recipe I found, the best brownie recipe I found, the best jam recipe that I found. I have all those already. I don't have to experiment for a month, a few weeks at a time. I have the best jam that I want to stuff in a donut. There it is, my special. Within 3 days, I have it perfect on the menu. That's it. That's what I did all year. And then it was a combination of, when we opened the Salty, it was a combination of a bunch of different things that aligned. All the stars aligned in the right way, at the right time, and created this magical thing that doesn't really happen all the time. It's very rare. If you compare it to the amount of businesses, especially food businesses that open every year, it barely happens where within 3 weeks you have a line that's waiting 2 hours and you paid off all your bills within a month of being open. You owe nobody anything. That's what we did. We were already making money.
Which is hard to do.
Right away in the first month, yeah, it's like almost impossible to do. Okay, it's not just hard to do. It's almost impossible in the food industry. In fact, it's one of the industries where you expect where 20% of profit is actually good. That's where you have a good business.
I like this. Now, you mentioned Salty. As people might know, Salty Donut is probably the most famous donut shop in Wynwood, probably in Miami or in South Florida. It depends.
It's in all of Florida, the most famous.
Yeah.
They've been on, while I was there, every list of best donut shops in the country.
Can you tell us a little bit how that started? I know you're the main man behind these donuts. How did it start?
Well, I am the man behind the donuts for sure in that shop, but it wasn't my idea to begin the donut shop. It was the idea of the couple that I started it with, my other partners, and they approached me at a time, like I said, when I was kind of just burnt out and ready to have a difference in life and balance. And I said, hey, this sounds like something that's really going to be amazing. It's hot in other cities, and I'd be happy doing it. Plus, I could do it early and still have a nightlife to where most restaurants and hotels, a pastry chef works to the very end. Because you're getting your dessert at the end, you're getting your wedding cake at the end of the whole ball. So I was there till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes. The whole year and a half that I was with the Salty, and I was the founder with them. Before we opened, I tested and created every single donut recipe. I did not copy anything from anybody else. These are recipes that I continue to keep creating. Every month, every week, every day, I'm testing and creating and developing better recipes. My donut recipe now, in comparison to the one that I had at Salty, is 1,000 times better. 1,000 times better. Wow. So I keep growing, and I'm the type of chef that I'm the guy you bring in and you ask him to create recipes for you. I'm a trendsetter. I'm not a copier. I don't like to work that way. But the Salty came about where these guys came up with the idea of opening the first artisanal craft donut shop, and they wanted to find the best pastry chef in the area. They wanted to do it in Miami, and they reached out to me, and I loved the idea. And I said, heck yeah, I want to do it, but only I'll do it as a partner. And we worked it out to where I was a partner and I was a founder. And they tried to deny that. It's baloney. They've actually tried to say that, even though it was written on the on the actual Instagram that I was a founder and a partner. But when it comes to business, I found out the hard way. Things don't always work out the way you have to, but I definitely came out winning. Through all the money I lost and everything, I definitely came out winning because it exposed me to a whole new side of the business that I wasn't even aware of. I mean, I'm a chef. I still will always be a chef and stand for the chef. But a business owner is a completely different ballgame, different monster. You deal with other factors that I never even realized, and all these other little tiny discrepancies that you have to watch out for, and you need a lawyer for. You really do.
That goes hardcore.
All the fine print, and I learned that, and I picked that up. And me 3 years ago to where I am today is a completely different type of person in the industry. I'm not just a chef anymore. I'm also a businessman now, and I can stand my own in a conversation with other entrepreneurs and companies that rent out, rental companies that do, properties and all that stuff. I can hold my own, what it is that I'm looking for and how much they're charging me and for the area. I've learned a lot. Plus, the biggest advantage was that now I'm very well known. I have a name out there for myself. I have strong connections and ties to the community. I'm super pro Miami. I'm hardcore, diehard 305. Anywhere I go, I support my community, and I try to represent. Even when I went on the Best Baker in America, which we'll touch on, I'm sure. But that was a show on the Food Network, and I was the only person on it from Florida, and I tried to do as much Latin root, flavors as I could in all the competitions. I brought guava and cheese. I brought key lime. I did a mojito dessert. I mean, all kinds of stuff, And I had so many people reach out to me and tell me how proud they were that I represented 305. Because a lot of people in the food industry, I think in the past, before 5 years ago especially, really saw Miami as that's kind of like party town. It's a joke. They don't really have great food. But they can't say that about us anymore. Every single chef in the world, the greatest ones, want to be in Miami. And I would even admit it myself, 5 years ago, I would never go to the beach to eat. It was crap. It was cheap 2-for-1 drinks on Ocean Drive that everywhere has for tourists, and that's it. Now every single chef in the world is out there, and they have some really awesome restaurants, and I love eating out there. The food scene here is amazing.
So how'd you get into the food scene? What wanted you to become a chef?
Well, that's a good question. You said, you saw it. I started out in the U.S. Air Force. So I served my country.
Thanks for serving.
Thank you very much. I'm proud to have done it. Not only do I support my local 305 community, but I also support the troops, and I've been part of it. And I have a big like actually do a lot of service work at the VA. I've gone there and I've talked to like veterans that are in need and in crisis and stuff. I've been there for them. So I started in the Air Force, and never in my life would I have thought that I was going to be a cook. You know, I was a spoiled brat, really. My mom did everything for me, so I never even learned how to cook till I was in the Air Force. But I've been drawing and sculpting my whole life since I could hold a pencil. So the artistic side of culinary, especially in pastry, I mean, it really helps to be artistically inclined in pastry, especially back then. Now even regular food is super artistic, man. I mean, the kind of stuff that we're doing in regular savory food is art, just like pastry, and it takes just as much like technical work. But pastry is a fact that you use the most kind of tools. I mean, you have an artisanal of different tools that you have to do for different cakes and chocolate work and all kinds of stuff. More tools than you just need a couple of knives when you're a chef on a line cook, you know? So it definitely helped to be artistic inclined, and I got into it, and I started in the savory kitchen, and I can actually work any station, and I can open up a full restaurant and run it. I'm a chef, like, through and through, but what my specialty is, of course, is pastry. What I know the most of is pastry, but if you've been doing it as long as I have, working next to great chefs, like I've had the opportunity to do, and you don't pay attention, you're an idiot. Sorry. How can you be standing next to someone making an amazing, you know, kind of a veal stock reduction or something and not pay attention and not ask your chef, like, hey, how should I use this herb? What will it combine best with? And that's what I've done. I've worked really closely with the chefs that I've worked with, and we've created dishes together. And through trial and error and experimentation, School of Hard Knocks, I've learned a lot, but I also went to the culinary school, the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale, which is really funny because I thought that I would be going to that school since a young child for art. I really did. It was one of the best colleges around in the whole area for art and graphic design. And I ended up going to that school, but never would I have dreamt it would have been for culinary. And it just recently closed.
Wow.
The culinary department of that school. And all of the cordon bleus closed too. And I blame that on the fact that when the cordon bleu was established obviously in France, you had to like really dedicate yourself to be a chef and to pass that school. It turned into what now you just need to pay somebody for a degree. It doesn't even mean anything anymore. And you get these kids that are like coming out of culinary school or college, whatever you want to call it, thinking that they're going to be celebrity chefs. They see these celebrity chefs that glamorize everything on TV, and that's what they want to be. And when they get to the real world, it's long hours, busting your butt for low pay, and you really got to like be like driven and want to learn to get ahead. Like in order to get ahead, you got to sacrifice a lot. But I don't see it as going backwards. Like I've worked at places for free. I've taken jobs that pay less just to get ahead, because in the long run, it's a 5-year plan where you're taking a step back in pay, but you're going to get ahead to where you want to be much quicker. And I did that a lot in my career. But the kids these days have a different work ethic, especially now where there's restaurants everywhere that are amazing, and we don't have enough good staff. They get bored, or they don't like the way you talk to them, or whatever, the working conditions. They just quit, and then they go to the next restaurant and they get hired. There's no platform standards, anything.
Wow.
So it really is a different world these days, and you have to like treat your staff a lot differently. And you know what? Like, I came from a place where things were done a lot differently, so I like that things are getting better for the chef in general. Like, you know, we're having to give them better working circumstances. Before, kitchens were hot, smaller. You didn't even need working air conditioning. I mean, I've been through crap. And long hours, don't take breaks. You don't sit down. You eat standing up. You eat quickly. I mean, I've done all that. So,
have you seen that movie Burnt with Bradley Cooper?
Yes, I saw that. Yeah, that was my story.
It's such a good movie. I mean, I've seen it 3 times, and obviously
that's very much what it's like
in
the old days. But you can't talk to people like that anymore. You can only do it. You can only do it in a few kitchens. Let me tell you.
Really?
You can do it in a few select kitchens in the country still, because if you talk like that now, they cry and they complain to the labor boards, and they'll quit and they'll just go work somewhere else and they'll get hired. It doesn't even matter anymore. They need cooks so badly, they don't even do like checks with other chefs. They just hire you.
Wow.
It really has become like really tough. And I'm going to share here something that I use because with my last, especially at the Salty, I created an environment where it was most important was the culture. And it sounds a little like, I don't know, like that word is kind of cliche, but it really is what it is. You have to create a culture that's more important than the pay, because you can't pay these guys a lot because you don't make a huge amount, especially not in the beginning. So these are the 3 key points that I would suggest as a manager to keep your staff around and wanting to be there and not have a rotating door. And also, it super helps to be a well-known chef like I am now, so I have a lot of more people wanting to work for me. So that's made it a lot easier. But here are the things. And the first one is super simple. As a kitchen staff, not for front of the house, it is super important to provide parking. As simple as something as parking. I shit you not.
You know, hey, I get
If
you.
you pay these guys almost nothing, sometimes as low as like 10, 11 bucks an hour, right? Even 9 some places. And then you're going to charge them for parking for like an 8 or 9 hour workday, they're going to quit.
Yeah.
So this is
especially
the first
Miami.
thing that I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
Okay. Second of all, and the one of the most important things, you have to provide them a workplace where they're happy to come to. It can't be the smallest space to where so many like people that just think about money, they will use the build out of the store, whatever it is, to make more chairs and make the kitchen smaller and smaller and smaller, because you can't make money if there's not a table there. Think about it.
Yeah.
Right? That's where you sell your money. But it's not about, the food industry is something that's a little bit different than any other industry because it doesn't just deal directly with just like 1 + 1 = 2. Like, in order to create happy customers, you must have a happy staff. I completely believe in that. You must have a happy staff. In turn, it will create better service, better product. It'll make you happier. And that's where you make the money. And that's where people in the business world that don't know anything about food go wrong. They just make the kitchen as small as possible. Oh, I'll just hire a bunch of cheap labor. They'll work their butts off in this tiny little hole, and I'll put more tables there. That might work in another industry, but it doesn't work in the restaurant industry if you want to remain and have longevity. It might work for a while, but it eventually is going to catch up to you. Somebody's going to have to deal with that issue sooner or later. A lot of companies build up a bunch of locations, right, and then they sell it off and make a big profit because the name's there, but nothing behind it. Mm-hmm. Whoever bought it has to fix it and make it right, but yeah, that's the only way you can actually profit from doing it that way, if you sell it right away and you build it really quickly, which a lot of companies do. But anyways, like, okay, so you provide a great place for them to come. How do you do that? You give them a space that doesn't have to be gigantic, right? It just has to be something comfortable where you're not working over the top of each other. You're not sticking a 4-foot table with 3 employees on it, which a lot of kitchens have done that in the past.
That's too bad. I didn't know about this problem.
Oh, yeah, man. It's super hot. Think about it. If you have stoves going,
yeah,
burners, ovens in this tight space with a shitty little like hood that barely sucks air out, it's going to get over 100 degrees in there.
Wow.
And then you're there for 8 to 10 to 12 hours sometimes. Servers are a different story. They're in the front of the house. It's nice and cool. They work for 4 or 5 hours, make 10 times more than a cook. Charge them for the freaking the parking. They're not going to give a shit.
Wow.
The cooks that make the $10 an hour, you better pay for or find some way for them to get a discount, or they're going to quit on you. Anyway, so you provide a place where it's cool. They always have the equipment that you need. It's not breaking, and if it does break, you fix it right away. As a supervisor, I always say, I work for you. The staff doesn't work for me. It's my job to keep everything you need working, a cool room, a clean place, working equipment, for you to be able to do your job. That's my job. I work for them. With that mentality, you're going to be a much better boss, and it's going to be a much happier staff, rather than do what I tell you to because I'm the boss kind of mentality. You know, people want to work for you because they're proud to do things for you. So you provide that kind of work environment, culture, And that's going to keep them. And last, and just as important as everything, is you need to keep inspiring them, because people, very few of them, you might get the old ladies from Cuba that don't know how to speak the language, that do this because it's the only thing. But the majority of people that take a job that pays $10 an hour where they have to work their asses off in a hot environment are because these guys want to grow. They're hungry. They want to work for somebody they believe in, that inspires them. They want to get to be in your level. That's why they do it. So if you just put them in a job where they're doing the same thing day after day, you don't motivate them, they're going to do it for a while. And if the pay is good, maybe they'll stay a little longer. They get benefits, yeah, they'll stay too. That's almost really rare in restaurants. Okay, but in hotels it happens. People stay in hotels for long years, 15, 10 years, because of the benefits. If you can do that, that's another huge thing you can offer. Yeah. But realistically, like with these three things that I'm telling you, the last one is inspire them. I created a system where I put a comments box and suggestions box, ideas box, whatever you want to call it. And they would put like ideas for the next donut, and I would pick them. And the ones that sounded good, I would help them develop it, and they would be their little project, and they would put it on. They loved that. Whenever I changed the menu, which was every week, I could change the menu every week for a whole year and never duplicate a donut. That's how many like recipes I have in my repertoire, and that's why having so much years of experience in pastry like helped being a donut chef, because I didn't have to test a lot of things. I already had the perfect jam that I love to use. I had the perfect topping that I needed to use, the perfect garnish. Like, I've already done it. So it was a matter of like training my staff, tweaking some things to fit a donut, and in 3 days it was perfect.
So you think it's necessary to go to culinary school, or do you think it's talent?
Well, first of all, I mean, I never steer anybody away from going to culinary school. I did it. I've actually been part of an opening of culinary school, the Wolfson campus and the Miami Culinary Institute. I helped develop a lot of what its processes were in the beginning. I was the opening executive pastry chef for the school. I opened Tuyo Restaurant with Chef Norman Van Aken, and I did all of the events and all of the desserts that had to do with events and for the restaurant. And I also did specialty classes in their large theater there. The wine theater is beautiful, super state of the art. I got to wear this microphone on my head like Britney Spears. Really cool.
You're an artist then.
Yeah. So they had the TV screens, you know, the videos pointing down at the food, and you can see it on the large plasma screens. Really cool facility. So I got to do a bunch of chef series classes. You can actually see some of them online if you Google my name, pastry chef Max Santiago. You'll see like some of the classes I taught. Culinary school is definitely something that can be good for a guide. If you have never done anything or worked in any major, like real commercial restaurant, it's gonna give you a good exposure and a good starting point, so you don't go clueless into a restaurant or a hotel. But it does not make you a chef. I want to make that very clearly, because there's a lot of students that come out of there thinking they're gonna be celebrity chefs, and it might happen, 1 in a million. Might happen if you got that special star ability. But even nowadays, they're learning, because I deal with food, the Food Network and Cooking Channel a lot. They call me for things, and I get called by producers, and I actually am working with one now, and we're trying to do a pilot for getting my own show. But that's another thing.
Yeah, we can't talk about it.
But rarely does that happen, and you're not a chef. Stay humble. When you come out of there, you're barely going to know anything. You're going to have a guide of what you're going to do. You're not a chef yet. A chef is a title that you earn, and it takes years to develop, and you never stop learning. You never stop learning. Never, no. Even now, where I'm literally like considered one of the top donor chefs in the world. I could say that very comfortably because I just got back from Portugal, where I opened the first artisanal craft donor shop in Portugal.
Oh my gosh.
No, so I get calls every freaking week from people all over the world wanting me to do a shop with them. that's how like known I am. I have to turn down things because I'm opening my own shop, or I work out certain like deals where, um, whatever, I might get some percentages on them. But um, pretty soon that's going to stop because unless it's under my trademark, I'm not going to do it anymore because it's going to just affect my potential of growth in my company. But it's a fact that I'm one of the most sought after chefs in the world when it comes to donuts, and even I am still constantly learning, still constantly growing, ever evolving. Nothing's ever. I'm always trying to outdo myself. So yeah, that's a title you earn. You don't just come in there expecting to have this and then thinking because you went to some fancy culinary school you're going to be a chef. Like, stay humble, work hard, be driven. Get ready for some work because this job is not easy.
What is your favorite donut that you've created yourself?
Well, when you say favorite, I think of two different things. One, what do I enjoy eating the most? Because that's a totally different thing as like what I've been the most proud of.
Right.
What I've been the most proud of is, oh my God, there's so many that I've loved. I love doing things with seasonal fruit, and especially in South Florida, my hometown. We get, all these Caribbean fruits like, papaya, mango, pineapple, star fruit, all these crazy things that you can't find guava, that people have never even heard of in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
Something as simple as guava, some people don't know what the heck it is. Even in America, you go into middle America,
Yeah,
they've never even tried it.
No, not at all.
Never even tasted it. Well, it's guava.
And
but I love that. I love most of the donuts that I've done with tropical fruit. But my all-time favorite to eat that I will always order and enjoy the most is a Boston cream pie. What's a Boston cream pie? It's filled with a homemade vanilla custard. I don't like that pudding canned stuff that most, let's not name any names of donut shops that are out there that use it.
it's cheaper, right?
It's cheaper and easier to make, but it's worth it for the quality that you're going to get. Oh, my God. A homemade pastry cream custard, it just does not compare to anything you can buy. You cannot buy something that tastes like a homemade custard. That's like saying, you can a store-bought or pre-bought bagged ice cream will taste the same as a homemade ice cream. It does not match up. I make very good ice cream. By the way.
There's probably tons of things you make besides a donut.
Those would say my two choices. So I can't really pick a favorite because there's so many. Tres Leches was one of the top ones that I was proud of doing, and I took that same concept. It's really cool because I took off the very top lining of the seal that happens when you fry the donut, and then you expose the flesh that actually absorbs whatever it is that you soak it with. It's the same thing that happens with cakes. You got to peel off that top layer so you can soak the innards. And I would soak it with the 3 milks. I spiked it with a little bit of rum and vanilla. And after a half an hour or so, the whole thing turns into like basically the Tres Leches cake, kind of a pudding. And so it wouldn't get soggy, I dipped the bottom into white chocolate. So the bottom would stay firm and you could still pick it up and it wouldn't be soggy. And then on top, I just did the traditional meringue and I torched it. And it was it's like a huge hit, especially obviously with all the lovers of the Cuban community. It's one of their like nostalgic desserts that they grew up eating, and it became quickly the number one and got put on the menu. There's one of my my Instagram pages is called Mad for Donuts,
which I follow.
Thank you. And what it is a compilation of like all the different donuts and donut shops out there that have inspired me in some way. And every time I get inspired, and I give credit to those amazing other donut shops out there.
Yeah.
Let me say something real clear. Use other chefs. Become a community with them if you're a chef. Don't be afraid of healthy competition. I make friends with all the chefs. If you looked at my Instagram from day one, like with the Salty, I've always had guest chefs be on. And in fact, that's going to be one of the things I do in my new store that I'm opening next spring. Hopefully, I'm aiming for next spring. You know how openings go. You never know. But I'm aiming for next spring. That's when my non-compete is over with the Salty Donut. It was a 2-year, 75 miles, so that'll be up in March. And I started announcing my opening exactly a year from it. This past March or May or so, I announced it with the platform of the best baker in America on the Food Network. So I was one of the contestants on it, and I used that as a platform to announce that I was opening my own shop again in Miami.
And can you tell the audience a little bit about it, what it will be all about, and things like that?
So the shop is going to be, I've announced it already. It's going to be a kind of a combination of two things. We're going to be a donut shop, of course, and foremost. I'm gonna do a combination of all things fried. I'm not just going to be a shop that you walk into and see like donuts and filled donuts. Like, you will see a bunch of different things going on. You're going to have a cruller. You're going to have all things fried. Anything fried that I consider a donut. You know, you have crullers. You're going to have buñuelo that's served hot. You know, we're going to be doing all cooking in the facility on site, to where it's different from my ex-partners. They do it in a different facility that they carry over things. So we'll have hot products, and on top of that, it's going to have a bigger menu. And I'm going to be doing. I brought the first craft vegan like raised donut to Miami. They claim that they were the first ones to put it on, but I already had announced it on NBC6 in the mix, like that I did mine 4 months before that. You know, so they could try to claim whatever they want, but I created in my past like R&D, like I've had a really like incredibly blessed, unique situation where I was paid to just come up with things. That's what I did at the sugar factory. I was basically always just research and development. I was the corporate pastry chef for over 20 stores, and I just fine-tuned like procedures and recipes and training and all that stuff. So I was just testing things and doing tastings every week. And in that time, in this past year, I've really like dedicated a lot of my training to vegan pastries, and I'm actually probably one of the most experienced vegan pastry chefs in Miami right now.
Wow.
I could really say that very strongly and securely, because there's very few vegan chefs out there right now. Vegan pastry chefs, I'd say. It's a very new and what's the word? You haven't like tapped on it yet. Area right now.
Yeah, it's untapped.
There's very few that do it really well and know a lot about it. And if one does it, they're not the other. Mm-hmm. You have a vegan pastry chef and they don't really know anything about regular pastries. Then you have regular pastry chefs that don't know anything about vegan. See, so it's not, I think I'm one of the most experienced of both that there is right now in Miami.
Plus business.
And business thrown in there too. But so with that said, I created a vegan raised donut, absolutely no animal byproduct, not vegetarian, vegan. Mm-hmm. No eggs, no butter, no cream, nothing that comes from an animal is in there, not even honey, nothing. That tastes exactly like a regular raised donut. It is, you cannot tell the difference. In fact, I made it for a group of about 50 school kids, young kids. And they did not say a thing. They loved it. They were all over it. Wow. So if you can put it as children, that's your best.
That's a good test.
That's a good test, right?
Wow.
So that will be on the menu, and I plan on having multiple choices because I think it's kind of a crock that if you're a vegan, I'm lucky to have one choice. No, I'm going to put at least 3 donuts always on the menu that they can choose from.
Which I was reading an article from the Miami Times, and you were saying that the process of ordering your food will be much quicker because people are waiting, you know.
Yeah, we're going to work on we're going to have a line for just the coffee. You're going to have an order system that, you place the order and you get a buzzer and you get called over. You don't have to stand in line for everything.
Right.
So we're putting in. I have a new business partner who I really trust and have signed all the proper things with, and he's an expert in that type of area, and he's going to make it the best.
Yeah.
the best system that you can to get them in and out of there. It's a great thing to have a line, but I mean, it's just like if you do things smart, you can move it along quicker too.
Yeah.
And here's the last part I haven't told you, but I did announce it, and you probably read about it. It's going to be the first all-day breakfast donut shop. So it does not mean it's an all 24-hour-a-day breakfast, which is some people read it that way. It just means it's all day.
Till 10 p.m.
Well, till we're open.
Yeah.
Whether we open till 7, 8, 10, whatever, we're going to be serving breakfast. You can have breakfast for lunch, breakfast for dinner, whatever the heck you want to have it. It's always the best meal, right?
It is the best meal.
So it's just a natural to me that donuts go great with breakfast, because if you're having a waffle or you're having a pancake and some of the syrup gets on your bacon or sausage, I mean, that's freaking heaven, right?
Exactly.
So,
ready for some random questions.
all right, let's do it.
What is your favorite place to eat Cuban in Miami?
Oh, man. Cuban food. What does it come to? I'm
It's okay. You can say pass. Like,
say when I eat Cuban, man. Like I usually at my mom's house.
hey, you can say that.
Favorite place to eat Cuban food is at my house.
Have you found a good slice of pizza in Miami?
Yeah, there's definitely good pizza here, man. Andiamo's makes awesome pizza. They're out on I actually went on a pizza tasting excursion. It was years ago though, here in Miami, to find the best pizza. But you know who makes another really awesome Cuban pizza?
Ray's Pizza.
Tio Colos.
Tio Colos. Okay.
Tio Colos is they make an ice cream bar. It's like an ice cream sandwich, but made with cake instead of a cookie.
Wow.
And they're in a bunch of different supermarkets like Sedano's and stuff, and actually a couple of different little restaurants carry them as a dessert. But they also, a lot of people don't know, have their own little shop of Cuban pizza, and it's so freaking good. If you get the one with the sausage on it, Cuban pizza, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a little individual pizza. And the dough is a little bit like different.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a little thicker and chewier, and it's got a lot of grease.
Of course, it has to have a lot of grease, right?
It's delicious, but they've made the best one I've tasted, and I don't know. I try to, honestly, I love pizza, but I can't say I eat that much of it anymore because I eat so much dessert.
Yeah.
That I really try to cut anywhere else that's a super fattening food.
Yeah, carbs. That really gets you, doesn't it?
Except for, believe it or not, like I won't give up cheeseburgers. I love burgers. That's like one of my favorite foods. You asked me earlier.
Me too.
Like, what was it? Like, honestly, I would just say like one of my favorite things to eat is just a really well done cheeseburger. It has to be a juicy, fatty meat.
Well done?
Too lean. No, definitely not well done.
Who eats their burgers well done these days?
Cubans do. Still the old school Cubans. That was a different time, man. A lot of things were different back then. You had to do that because you didn't have good refrigeration. You had to kill everything in it. Kill it again. And you didn't know really what food really, like what good food was. So.
Maybe you might innovate the Cuban bakery industry.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of my inspiration in my donuts and my flavors are very, very Hispanic. So.
Would you rather buy Bitcoin or gold?
I don't know anything about the Bitcoin thing. It's so cold.
It's cold. What's your favorite Rocky movie?
Oh, I guess the first one, Rocky 1.
A lot of people pick Rocky 1 a lot.
That's my generation, so I definitely know those movies.
What's something that cannot be bought or sold on the internet?
Work ethic.
How do you have your pancakes?
Well, I usually don't eat pancakes. That's all. But if I have to, I'll tell you how. I get the bran ones, and so they're made like with bran flour, and usually with like fresh bananas or blueberries in them.
Ooh. You survive in the woods for 1 month.
A whole month?
Yeah.
Shit. What do I got with me? What kind of supplies?
It's up to you.
I'm an outdoorsy guy. Yeah.
Okay. What would you tell your
I
favorite?
was in the military.
That's right. So you do have some.
I went to Africa for a month.
I've been to Africa too.
We were in Kenya. Where'd you go?
I was in Kenya.
No shit. Isn't it
Yes.
awesome?
It was
I loved
awesome.
it.
I saw a
You know,
giraffe.
I think that like a third world country known as that, like Kenya, would be like a ideal like honeymoon destination. But it was so beautiful. I
There's
could
one
see, like,
spot. Yeah, I forgot the name of it.
Mount Kenya Safari Club. Did you go there?
No,
Top of the
I
mountain.
went to like the rural area because I was there for a missions trip. So I was in the capital, and then went to like real rural
Nairobi.
area. Yeah, Nairobi. But there is one
Crazy.
spot called Mombasa. I think it's
Yeah,
where like
Mombasa, yeah.
vacation spot.
We landed
So
there too.
a lot of Europeans go there. What would you tell your 15-year-old self?
Man. I have so much that I would tell them. Stay away from drugs.
Okay.
Stay away from women. Well, not all women, but choose the right woman.
That's key, right?
Yeah, just I guess watch your partying and your women. That's always been my biggest weakness, man.
Man's greatest weakness.
Hardcore, hard rock and roll, like sex, drugs, and rock and roll as a chef, man. It's my lifestyle. Was.
Burger fight or Shake Shack?
Oh my God, hands down, no competition. Shake Shack.
Okay. What's the worst pet to have?
I'm not a big pets guy. I love dogs. That's it. I'll have to say. I think a bird. A bird will be the worst. They make lots of noise. And they shouldn't be caged, man. They should be flying.
What job you would not be good at?
I suck at like sitting down at any kind of office job.
Okay.
Even like I'm really good at being organized, and I keep everything organized to a T. Like you have every form that you need. I cost everything out. I just spent 3 days, the last days for a consulting job, costing out a bunch of recipes. But I freaking hate it, man.
I can tell you're
would
like
my life. I just cannot stand it. I have ADD for that kind of stuff. I'll sit there and I'll start thinking about something else, and I won't get anything done. I literally need a personal secretary for that kind of crap. So I usually find like whoever types the best in my staff, and I have them do that kind of work.
There you go.
I'm like, Haley, she was the one that typed fast. Come here, you're typing up recipes today.
What's your favorite mustard?
It's not the key. You know what? I let's go back to that question.
Okay, go ahead.
In this industry, like you have to really like not complain or think that you're not the best at everything. You have to learn how to deal with those circumstances,
Yeah.
and that makes you a good leader. I am okay with like, hey, I'm not the fastest typist or the best at paperwork, but how do I deal with that? Do I whine about it and try to do it myself? No. I put the best person I could find and work on that, and I make it work for me.
Wow.
That's how you do it. That's how you still become successful. Use your tools that you do have accessible. Everybody, your assets. Anyways, what's the next one?
What's your favorite mustard?
I hate mustard.
Oh,
I'm
really?
not a condiments guy. I like barbecue sauce, so I guess I'm barbecue.
And what sport you cannot stand?
I mean, I love playing sports. I don't really watch them. So do you mean playing it or watching it?
Watching it.
Both?
Like, I cannot watch this sport.
Oh, man, I don't know. I don't find many of them fun to watch.
What sport do you-
Absolutely, I couldn't watch. I don't think I could watch golf.
Which is
Yeah.
my next question, which is more of a boring sport, golf or tennis?
Yeah, golf definitely is. Although, you know what? I love playing golf, but it's a very expensive. I think it's gotten a little cheaper now, but when I tried to play it years ago, it was really expensive because you had to like pay like or be a part of a like some kind of a group or club that
Yeah.
you had to pay monthly dues to. Or if you weren't, you had to pay like minimum like $24 or $5 to every game that you played.
Yeah.
And then your golf clubs that are so expensive and all that. But it really is something amazing to be out there. I think it's a very like calming sport, and you're out there in the open air and smelling the grass, and you get like deep into thought, and you just drive the ball, and you just like. I found it very, like, I don't know, it just made me at peace a lot. So I really enjoyed it, but it's not something I've done a lot. I like to do it. I can see why a lot of retired people do it because of that. But man, to watch, yeah, it's super boring. It's like watching paint dry.
Should people wear their team jerseys to work?
I don't care. Yeah, that's fine.
If you could, would you live in a hotel?
Ooh, I guess I could do that. Yeah.
I mean, you worked at really fancy hotels. I bet you
Yeah.
could handle that.
I kind of like that lifestyle. You know why? Because I don't really have the time to cut my own grass and all that stuff. So I enjoy the amenities of having like a gym in the same like building, and not having to cut my grass and having a pool there. Like that gets maintenance done. So yeah, I could see being a condo owner instead of a house owner.
What's the best thing to have with cheese?
A burger.
Yes. You're like me. You're just like, even though you're a chef, you're like ordinary things. You're not.
Oh yeah, man.
I have a burger. It's not. I don't know what chefs think about burgers.
Yeah.
No, normally. I'm not
Well,
sure if it's
see, the
positive.
thing is, like, I can just be like interchangeable because I can sit down in a fine dining and hold my own, and there might be people that know more about fish and all that, but when it comes to pastries, nobody will know more. But I'll nitpick everything out of it, and if it's not perfect, I'll find it. But I also can super just enjoy the most casual, like even a freaking fancy. I mean, even a fast food restaurant. And I actually don't eat at chain restaurants. That's
You
the one
don't?
thing I don't do.
Wow.
I mean, no, let me clarify that. I eat at chain restaurants fast food. I don't eat. What would you call it?
Like a
the
Bonefish
middle-
Grill.
I don't eat at like the chain restaurants that are middle ground,
Yeah.
like Chili's or Fridays or any of those. 'Cause
Yeah.
honestly, that is the poorest form of food out there that you could have.
I could definitely see that.
Because
Yeah.
think about it, like, okay, at fast food, if I choose to eat that, I know what I'm getting. It's crap. It's processed. It's made super fast, but there's very little. Like, you don't have a lot. Like, it's made with so many preservatives and it's frozen to cooked so quickly that you don't get the chance to really get sick. And when you're eating in a middle restaurant, or if you're eating at fine dining, then I'm paying a lot of money. I expect the best, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna get trained chefs that are passionate about their career and their trade. But when you get the guys that are in these middle grounds, you get the worst, lowest paying chefs out there. They don't really care about what they're doing, because if they did, they would be working for a great restaurant, not a medium one. They usually get, like, in order to maintain those really low prices that you're getting, they're
Yeah.
getting really cheap products. And you also have to worry about, like, how much experience do they really have in like handling food? You know, like, are they leaving my chicken sitting out for 4 hours, getting all this bacteria? Like, I found, like, I get the most food poisoning going to those restaurants. I stop going.
I heard a lot of people go, yeah, you're right.
And you know what? Like, I also, like, I don't believe in the cleanliness that they have back there. You can't see it, what's going on. So, yeah, I don't eating at Chili's.
And how can people reach you?
Well, I'm constantly doing events at least once or twice a month where you can taste my product. But like I said, I can't sell any donuts, so I get inquiries all the time about, like, ordering from me. I don't have my own kitchen right now, and when I do work events, I do it out of a commercial kitchen or the kitchen where the event is being held. So it's very difficult for me to, like, I can't do, like, special requests like that. And you can always reach me on Instagram or any kind of social media. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, and it's really simple because all of them are the same handle. They're all Chef Max Santiago. So if you remember Chef Max Santiago, they're all under the same one. If you send me a DM, I'm super good about getting back to you. I answer every single one of my posts. I answer, even if you just comment on my post, I respond to every single one, because I really want my followers to feel like I'm their friend, not just like some chef that's putting up pictures. Like, I really get involved with.
Yeah, you are very. I mean, I commented on your Instagram a few days ago, and you replied right back, "Hey, can you be on my podcast? DM me."
Oh, man,
and this
I
was
don't-
arranged.
I don't. I'll tell you my secret of what I've been doing this whole year. Because normally, years ago, I would have freaked out with the kind of year I'm having. I don't have definite income coming in. I don't know when my next consulting gig is. I don't go out looking for them. They just find me. And thank God, like, I worked my butt off and gained a good reputation that they just come to me and they want me to be part of it. But part of the reasons that they do is because I'm so active also. Like, they see me doing things and I'm on the spotlight a lot, so they want a little piece of that for their restaurant or business. So they contact me. But
Chef Max,
yeah, brother.
time's running out. We could talk food all day. We even talked about other restaurants I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, man, I'm like the walking Google for restaurants in Miami, by the way.
We haven't talked about Milk Bar, Momofuku.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother podcast.
They're not around.
Anyways, any final words?
Like I said, follow me on any of my social medias, but especially Instagram. I'm very, like, active on there. I'll always respond. I've got new exciting projects always in the works. come see me at Dessert Wars. I'll be at the March of Dimes event in November with some of the biggest culinaries in the city I've been asked to be part of. So that's awesome. On just as Chef Max, so you'll be able to get the donuts there because I'm not selling them. You're just coming into the event and eating them. I'll have my new donut dough there. I'll have my vegan donut. It's gonna be awesome. I've always got stuff going on. Just stay tuned. I don't know. I love everybody out there. I love Miami. I love my people. I'm gonna make you proud.
Yeah, man. That restaurant next year, I'm looking forward to it. There might be a
bro.
line to get in for the grand opening.
So you have the all-day breakfast. I'm telling you. Here's my I'm not gonna indulge all my whatever the word is. Like, I'm not gonna tell you all my secrets, but it's gonna be a really awesome breakfast, and it's gonna be quick. You're gonna be able to get it quickly on the go, and it's gonna taste amazing. Anything that you can eat on a bun, you're just gonna get it done on one of my brioche donuts that are gonna be grilled, and then at the same time you can leave with a box of donuts for your staff or to your office, whatever, or home for you. So it's a really cool, different concept, and it's not gonna be anything like what we did before, and there's gonna be all the donuts cooked on site, and it's definitely happening next year. It's just a matter of when exactly, because I'm doing things right and taking it slowly, but I guarantee you it'll be worth the wait. And I thank and love all my supporters, and it means the world to me, really, to have those guys supporting me.
Well, Chef Max, you definitely have a lot going on, and definitely have, like that big opening. But I really appreciate you coming on to the Sleon Productions podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.